Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. My name is Karen, and I am one of the social science PAAs. Welcome to our pre-med info session. During the session, our PAAs are first going to introduce themselves. We will discuss the requirements and admission process to medical school. At the end of the session, we will answer any of your questions. Please feel free to write your questions at any time, but keep in mind that they will be answered at the end. This info session is being recorded, and now we are going to start with our PAA, Sam.
Hi everyone, my name is Sam. I'm one of the PAs for the School of Social Sciences, and I'm a third year majoring in business economics.
Hello, everyone. So I'm a bio PAA, and I'm actually a fourth year, and I'm majoring in biochemistry and molecular biology.
I think I'm next, but hi everyone. My name is Anjani. I'm a fourth year neurobiology major, and I'm also one of the biosci PAs.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is John. I'm a third year human bio and public health policy double major. I'm one of the biosci PAs.
And my name is Maddie. I'm also one of the biosci PAs. I'm a third year bio major with a minor in psychology.
Alrighty, thank you everyone for your lovely introductions. Now we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'll pass it on to Maddie.
Great. Am I going to be the one sharing screens?
Actually, I don't have it open.
Okay.
One moment. Sorry, guys, technical difficulties. There. Okay.
Awesome. So as Karen said a little bit earlier, and Sam too, this is just going to be a pre-med info session. Largely, we're going to be focusing on what a social science major would need to do to prepare for med school, but this is honestly applicable to anyone who's interested in medical school. So if you're not a social science major, don't worry about it. Like, you'll still get plenty of good information. So on the next slide is a link to a website. Could you go to the next slide? Thank you. So this is a really important website that I got a lot of the information that I'll be talking about from. You'll get all these slides and a recording of this session afterwards. So we're going to be giving you a lot of information. Don't worry about writing it all down or anything. You're all going to have it. But this website's really good. It has a couple of really informational videos that go a little bit more into depth about what to include on a pre-med application and kind of how to go about getting those experiences. And so the next slide, I think, yeah, so this is just kind of a general overview of what we'll be talking about today. First, I'll start with a basic overview of classes needed to take during undergrad to kind of like help prep your med school application. Then we're going to go over some deadlines, some Mcat resources, a couple of clubs that you can get involved in and where to find those, as well as some volunteering opportunities and some research opportunities. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the classes that you'll need during undergrad. Again, this is going to be a lot of information. It can be overwhelming, but it's okay. We'll give you all the information post the meeting, so don't stress out about it too much. So first up, we're going to start with the general biology classes. As a pre-med applicant, you will have to take a full year of bio with labs. So at UCI, we don't offer labs for lower division courses, but you do have lower division courses for your like Bio 93, Bio 94, Bio 97. That will fulfill your full lab of general bio courses, your full year of general bio courses. And oftentimes schools were often like having you take biochemistry too, which is our Bio 98. For our bio classes for that first year, you need a D- or higher in order to continue to the next one. If you are not a bio major, you do have the option of taking these classes or the equivalents at a community college. A website that you can use to try to find equivalent courses is assist.org. And I would also recommend reaching out to our bio counselors just to make sure that you're taking the right courses that you need. Let's see. Right, yes, so that's it for the general bio courses. Moving on to general chemistry. So that's going to be your Chem 1 series. You have Chem 1A, Chem 1B, Chem 1C, and then with the labs as well. So that's Chem 1LC and 1LD. We generally recommend that once you start the Chem series, you keep going with it and don't take any breaks in between, just because it is very difficult to catch back up if you do take a break in the middle. And it helps to have all of that background to keep going with that. With the Chem courses, you will need a C- or better to continue to the next series. And that also goes for our organic chemistry series. That's our 51A, 51B, LB, 51C, LC. If you notice, you also have to take labs for that as well. Same thing goes for that. We generally recommend that you keep those in a series. Like once you start, you don't stop, because it's hard to get back on track. Just because the courses all build off of each other. So it's a lot easier to keep track of everything if you're just taking it back to back to back. Moving on to physics, generally, we recommend people take the 3 series if the 7 series is not recommended for your major. But the 7 series works perfectly fine too if you either choose to take the 7 series or if your major requires you to take the 7 series. Once again, the physics also has labs, so that'll be your LB and your LC. Sorry about that. And yes, that's physics. If you have any questions, let us know about that. That's pretty straightforward as well. Next up is your writing requirement. I wouldn't worry about this one too much because you will have to fulfill a writing requirement anyway for whatever major you have. And so your lower division writing requirement will be fulfilled by either the Writing 39 series or Human Core, and then whatever upper division writing you're required to take for your major. Moving on to math, if you are a bio major, then you'll have to take Math 5A or 5B. And if you're not a bio major, you'll probably be taking Math 2A and 2B. Those are our calculus classes at UCI. And then you'll have to take either Stat 7 or Stats 8. It doesn't matter which one you take, Stat 7 or Stats 8, they both work completely fine. Stat 7 is just normal statistics. Stats 8 is intro to biostats, but they cover the same content, so it doesn't matter which one you take. And they're not really major restricted either, so don't worry about anything like that either. Moving on to the upper division bio courses, this is probably a bit more of like the most confusing section that I'll go over. So if you have any questions, say something in the chat and I'll get to it later today. Generally, we recommend that you take anatomy, physio, and microbio, which is abbreviated to APM. At UCI, we have 2 classes for anatomy. Those are D136 and D170. D136 is offered over the summer. D170 is offered during the year, but D170 is 6 units, so it's a little bit heavier of a class. And it does have lecture and lab components, although it doesn't count as an upper division bio lab. I know that might sound confusing. I can go over that again if you need to later on. So our physio requirements, we have E109, which is our physio class for our upper division, and then we also have a physio lab, so that would be E112L. For microbio, we have M122 for the lecture, and then if you wanted to take the lab for microbio, that would be M118L. Just to clarify, the upper division labs and the upper division courses don't need to be taken together, so you are able to take like physio, the lecture, without having to take the lab as well. But you are required to take 1 year of labs, and so if you wanted to do that at UCI, those would be your upper division bio labs, and generally it just is easier to fulfill the requirement if you have the same kind of classes, because then you're just more familiar with the content. It makes it a little bit easier down the road. A lot of medical schools also request that you have advanced biochem. Here at UCI, our biochem is M114, and then if you wanted to take the lab for biochem, that would be M114L. If you notice, all of the lab classes have an L denoting the name, and you'll see that throughout all of the classes, such as chemistry, physics, and the upper division bio courses. Another class that's being more and more requested by medical schools is immunology, and that's our M119 or M121, and then the lab for that would be M121L. Other things to note about taking upper division courses, if you want to take additional courses other than just the ones that they suggest, it is good to show that you take those upper division courses because it shows that you are able to and have taken classes with rigor, and you've gone out of your way to kind of show and demonstrate that you're able to handle a heavy course load. So you're able to take any upper division bio course between the numbers of 103 and 190 as long as the course is a 4-unit course. Let's see. Also with the upper division bio courses, I'm sorry, this is a lot of information, but it's all important. If you're not a bio major, you do have the option of taking those upper division courses at a different college, but you are not able to take them at a community college, which is a little bit different than the general bio courses that I was talking about earlier. So just to clarify, the lower division courses you can take at a community college, but the upper division courses either have to be taken at UCI or another accredited 4-year university, but not a community college. Moving on to the upper division bio labs. Usually you'll need 3 to cover a full year of bio labs. The one thing to note about upper division bio labs specifically at UCI is during the year there will be prerequisites. The classes Bio-Sci 99 and Bio 100, which you notice are not underneath the list of general biology classes that we do recommend you take. So it's kind of hard to get into these classes during the year anyway, just because they're very, very competitive. So if you want to take upper division bio labs at UCI, we do recommend that you take them over the summer. Over the summer, the School of Biosci does not enforce prerequisites, so you don't have to take the Bio 99 or the Bio 100 classes. And that just gives you a little bit more freedom with your schedule so that you don't have to take an additional 2 classes that you want to even end up needing in most cases. Excuse me. Other options that you have for biolabs, you are able to take biolabs at a community college or an additional 4-year university. But anytime that you take classes outside of UCI, it will be beneficial if you talk to one of the PAAs or one of the counselors in the School of Biosci just to kind of make sure that you're getting the content that you need. Let me see if there's anything I missed for that. Nope, I think that's it for the upper division biolabs. And so last but not least, Psych 7A, Sociology 1, and Anthro 2A are all really good GEs to take if you're still needing some GEs to take, just because all of that content is very useful when studying for the Mcat. And I've heard that it is very, very helpful to have a background in those subjects. So once again, if you have any other questions, feel free to pop those in the chat and I'll get to them when I can. Otherwise, I'm going to pass it on to Alejandra for our next slide.
All right, so if you're interested in applying to medical school, but I know it can be a very difficult process to understand because there's so much that goes into it. We do offer a course here at UCI that kind of helps you by exposing you to the different things that I guess is very important for your application. And that's Bio-Sci 3A. It's a career decision making course. So it's a one work load unit, and it's usually offered during winter quarter. So this is very useful if you do plan on applying in spring. So June, that's where usually most people apply to medical school. It would be very useful for you to take it that winter. So you kind of just refresh on the things that you need to make sure that you have ready for your application. So in the class, you'll talk about personal statements, which are very important, GPA, Mcat, how to prepare for the Mcat, letters of rec, all that important stuff that I know can be very difficult to find online. So it's really nice that the course has all that information ready for all of you. Also, they invite guests such as medical students who are currently in medical school. So they kind of give you their experience of, how medical school is, how their application process went, things that they did on undergrad to kind of prepare them for that. So I think that was really nice, and you kind of relate a lot if you are planning on applying. And you can ask them, for advice if you are experiencing any challenges. So that was really useful for me. So I highly recommend that if you do plan on applying, like I said, during June, to take it the winter of before. So make sure you check this course out if you're interested in. Next, I think that's all I have to say. But yeah, okay. So now the fun part. So you completed all those courses, and now it comes time to apply to medical school. So one of the most important things is for you to submit your application on time. That's critical. So where can you find information regarding applications and deadlines? And that's going to be the AAMC website. And it's going to be your best friend. It's very important for you to really understand where you can find all the information you need on this website. There's a lot of info on this. So it's kind of complicated, but I mean, you can go on YouTube and they have like tutorials on like, I guess, navigating it. So definitely recommend you doing that. But on there, you can find all the schools and the deadlines for when the applications must be submitted. Your primaries, then you would have secondaries, but that's later on. So to figure out when, you know, your primary application needs to be submitted, you can go ahead and find all that information on here. And yeah. So the not so fun part of applying to medical school, which is the Mcat. So the Mcat is very notorious because, you know, it's a very difficult exam and it takes a lot of preparation. So what do you need, I guess, to, you know, be able to be successful in the Mcat? And that starts with the courses that you take in your undergrad. So most of your studying is going to happen then. So you need 2 years of chemistry, which includes inorganic, organic, and biochemistry, 1 year physics, and then 1.5 years of biology, which includes an upper division biology course. For the one upper division biology course, usually, I guess, most popular classes are like physiology, immunology, microbiology. Those tend to be like highly tested on the Mcat. So I guess those are very useful if you do plan on, like, you know, taking an upper, you do want to take an upper division to look into those courses. But yeah, so when do you apply or when do you register to take the Mcat? So usually most students take it in September before like their application cycle. And that's usually just because it gives you time to study throughout the summer, because it's very difficult to study for your Mcat when you're in school, just because you have midterms, you have finals, and the Mcat takes a lot of time and dedication. So a lot of students start their studying process during spring and end up taking it in September before their application in June. So that's usually, you know, when you want to register. Obviously, everyone has different paths. So if you need a little bit more time and you push it back a little bit, then you do have the option. You know, I think the latest that you can take is like May 28th before it like really delays your application. So just make sure you watch out for that. Make sure it doesn't affect your application. But usually most students take 3 to 5 months to prepare for the Mcat. However, if you feel like you do not have a really like strong grasp on the topics that are tested, consider maybe giving yourself a little bit more time. Everyone's experience is very different. Some people need like less than 3 months and they're able to score very high. Other people need like a whole year to study. So, you know, just prepare yourself, really reflect on like where you're at, and kind of, you know, see how much time you would like need to give yourself, because, you know, the Mcat is not only just about what you know in terms of the subjects, but you really need to learn like test taking skills, because it requires you to think critically, not just memorization, like, you know, what is this or what is that? No, you have to look at data and be able to use your knowledge on those topics to answer questions. So there's much more that goes into the Mcat than just, you know, learning the topics. So make sure, you know, you give yourself plenty of time so you're not stressing at the end of the day. You feel more relaxed when it comes to test day. Okay, so I guess how to prepare for the Mcat. So, well, first, you know, you want to sign up for it, and you do have the 2021 test dates. This link, you can go ahead and click that. It's also found on the AMC website, because that's where you're going to go to register for your Mcat. Currently, the Mcat registration is open for June through like September date. So those are open as of now. And there is a fee for the Mcat. It's about $350. So, you know, it is very pricey. But however, they do offer a fee assistance program. So make sure to definitely check that out if, you know, it's harder for you to make that payment, because it's very expensive. Okay, and when it comes to practice tests and workshops, so most students end up using like the Kaplan test books. That to go over all like the material that you need to know, but there's plenty of books that you can also get like on Amazon that are, I guess, from different publishers, so you don't necessarily have to use a Kaplan line. Also, I heard this, I haven't tried it, but you can also use like later or like older versions. That's what I heard, that they're equally as good. I haven't done that. I usually just, you know, I use the 2020, I think the second most recent, because they are very expensive. So sometimes the older versions are a little bit cheaper, and I heard they work equally as well. So that's something to consider too. We also have free resources online. So you have the Khan Academy YouTube videos on YouTube. Oh, YouTube videos. I was about to say on YouTube, but yeah, those are offered. Those are really, really nice because they kind of like cover everything in a short amount of time. And they use like fun diagrams, which I feel like helps a lot for you to remember things. And again, it's free. So who doesn't like free stuff? But yeah, those are very, very helpful for your like last minute studying, like the final month of like when you're going to take your MCAT test, like yeah, your MCAT, you can just go over all those videos and it's just like quick and like really useful. Also very, very important, like this is like a must that you need, like I feel like every person who takes the MCAT does this, is you need to purchase the AMC like MCAT prep, like it gives you like prep questions and like 3 sample tests. Those are absolutely necessary. Those are very important because they reflect what you're going to see on your MCAT, and they cover the most like important things. Also, I heard that if you finish all of those, like you're very, very well prepared, because those are like really hard problems on there. So definitely that's a must, take those. And obviously, if you do need like a further assistance in preparing for your MCAT, there's always CAT preparation programs. Those are like very expensive. For my experience, because I did the self-studying and I also did the program. Self-studying was really, I did okay. But sometimes it's easy to, put things off because, your life gets a little bit crazy, you have school to worry about. And sometimes you're like, okay, I'm going to study later, or I'll catch up tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and then, you are equally as busy. So you push it more and push it more. So it's kind of hard to be really hard on yourself to, make sure that you're getting those hours of studying, especially when you're in school. So I feel like having the program kind of gives you like a schedule. Most of them require you to attend like a class where, you go over material, you take sample tests, all that. You get to like, talk to other students, which is really helpful because they give you like tips on what they're doing. So you can try different things to see what works and what doesn't work. And I personally saw a big increase in like my scores from taking the practice or the preparation program compared to when I was doing the self-studying. Obviously, everyone's different. And I know it's like a very, very pricey for those programs. So, once again, you just kind of have to like reflect on yourself and the type of person that you are. If you feel like you are very like, dedicated and that you are going to be strict with yourself and make sure you get those studying, and then definitely, the self-studying might work for you. But if you're like me and, life gets crazy and sometimes, it's easy to put things off, then maybe a program will be helpful for that. So yeah. Okay, and then I'll pass it on to John.
All right, so you have your classes down, you are thinking about your MCAT, you're in the process of studying, but there's more being pre-med than what's happening inside the classroom, right? So you also want to build up that expertise and that experience. So joining clubs is a really great way to do this, and there are so many at UCI. I can't even list off all of them. I would run out of time. So I would highly recommend going to our central campus orgs portal for UCI, campusorgs.uci.edu, and looking up either like bio or pre-med or pre-health. We have some examples listed here, like there's the Public Health Association, Pre-Dental Society, Camp Med, IMed. And these are really great organizations because they give you the chance to be around other pre-med students, whether they're social science majors, biosci majors, pharm sci majors. There's even some engineering majors that are pre-med. And so you get that really diverse experience, but all of you are working towards the same goal. So there's a lot of workshops that these orgs put on. You get to meet med students and doctors in different specialties, get more of an idea of the field. There's also kind of experiential stuff. So whether that's volunteering or teaching about health to kids, there's a lot of really cool opportunities. Another great website to check out specifically, especially if you're a social science major, is brain.uci.edu. So at that link that's provided, the different departments like Psych, Cog Sci, Neurosci, all have student organizations affiliated with them, so you can check those out as well. And so the opposite side of the coin, so we have your clubs and we also have volunteering. Volunteering is very important. Medical schools really like to see that you're active within the community, that you're giving back, that you're performing service. So something that you can get involved in here at UCI are the student-run clinics. So there are 3 student-run clinics. There's Unlock, there's, I think the middle one's supposed to be Crescent Clinic. And the third one is the UCI Outreach Clinics. They're all run by students, but they're run through the School of Medicine, and they're all over Orange County. So if you are interested in, like, on the weekends or during the weekdays, depending on which clinic, volunteering your time and really experiencing what it looks like to give patient care to underserved communities and individuals who might not have access to care outside of this platform. It's a really rewarding experience, so I definitely recommend getting involved. And at UCI Health, there's other volunteer experiences. So if you have musical talent, you can play music for the patients at the UCI Med Center. There's a general volunteering program, and there's just a whole lot of things that you can do to kind of get your foot in the door in a clinical environment as well.
Okay, and now we'll briefly touch on research opportunities, which UCI is full of, both in not physical sciences, in social sciences, physical sciences too, if you're interested, and also bio especially, which you might be interested in. So one of the big things that I'll start with Bio 199, which is the second bullet point we have, because it kind of leads into the first bullet. But Bio 199 is basically a way for you to earn credits or graded units for doing research on campus. So it's basically a class that you enroll in once you have filled out all the paperwork or contacted faculty, filled out all the paperwork, and been approved to enroll in a specific lab. So if you see the link that we have there, I would definitely recommend checking it out if you're interested in bio-specific research. If you also hop onto our undergraduate.bio.uci.edu website, we have some really great resources about research in bio, as well as a full list of all faculty members who currently hold research labs and might be actively recruiting for undergraduates. So if you're interested in getting into research, I would definitely check out that page and think about doing Bio 199. And so going back up, we have the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Program, or UROP. So this is basically a symposium or program that is held on campus once a year, or actually, I don't want to say once a year, but it's held on campus, and it's basically a way for you to showcase your research. So say you've been working on a project in the lab that you're in, this is a great opportunity to receive funding for it by submitting a proposal to the committee essentially, and they'll review it and grant you a certain amount of money to fund your research. And then after I think you receive funding, let's say you're doing Europe in spring, you would receive funding in November of that year, and then you work on the project up until May. And at that point, you're able to present it to other students around UCI. Usually it was held in, what is that place called? Oh, it's been so long. It's usually held in the student center, but it's a really cool program. I would definitely, if you're currently doing research or thinking about doing research, Europe is such a great opportunity because it's almost run like a conference would be, where you have your poster, people are walking around, you get to present your research to people and hear about other people's research. And I think it's a really great way to showcase everything that you've been working on for like your year, or showcase your project. Oh yeah, and then I completely missed the last one, but if you click on the very last link, that's where you'll be able to find our faculty list. At the very top, there's usually going to be a section that's listed as featured faculty. So these are the faculty that are actively recruiting undergraduates to join their lab. And I think that is a very handy list to start with, just because you know that these individuals are looking to have undergraduates in their lab. And some of the other people won't reply, but those ones at the top are specifically looking for faculty. And another great way to find a faculty to do research under is by talking to your professors. So say you're taking Bio 98 and you really like your professor and you're interested in the research that they do in their lab, you can always reach out to them and see if they have any opportunities for you within their lab. Okay, and then I also did see a comment in the chat about for medical schools, can we do psych research instead of Bio 199? So there's, as far as I know, at least there's no requirement to do research for medical schools. This is just something that you can really learn a lot about. There's both clinical research and more like bench research, where it's like you're typical in a lab setting with like the lab benches and stuff like that. And there's clinical research where you might be interacting more with patients or doing some sort of analysis that relates more towards clinical aspects of medicine. Okay, going back to the point, you don't have to do research for medical school, but it is a really great opportunity. And I think it can really tell you a lot about what you're interested in, both like outside of medicine and also within medicine, because maybe you're doing research in like neuroscience and you're really enjoying it. That might lead you more towards medical school or something of the sort. But overall, I think it's just a really great opportunity. You can do psych research instead. I think if maybe you're not really interested in some of the Bio 199 labs we have, I think looking into research into psych or cognitive science or anything like that is still a really great opportunity and really great experience that I recommend. Hopefully that answered the question.
Okay, so we're basically at the end now, and you guys are free to ask all your questions. And we basically have 30 more minutes. We'll be here chilling, waiting for your questions. So go ahead, ask away. And if you don't have any questions, you are free to go, but we're staying. Okay, so we have a question. It says, for graduating students that didn't take the pre-med route while at UCI, can they take the lower division pre-med classes at a CC once they graduate?
Yeah. I think it's just a little bit more difficult to enroll in classes like post-graduation than it is like while you're still while you're still in undergrad. But it's definitely still possible. Lots of people do it. You hear many stories of people going back to school to go to med school because they realize that they want a career change later in life. So yeah, totally, definitely possible. This is just kind of like a presentation geared more towards people who are still in their undergraduate years wanting to take classes while they're still at UCI as a student. But yeah, totally, you can totally do that.
And another program that we don't highlight in our presentation, but is also an option for you, is there's things called post-bac programs. So after you graduate, UCI has actually two different ones. Since you haven't started a pre-med program, so like there's one through biological sciences, which is kind of like a career changer. So you went through a course of study or you were working and you decided after that, oh wait, I actually want to be pre-med. I need the courses. Where can I find them? So a lot of different four-year universities as well offer specialized programs where like you do a year, maybe two, but it's usually just 1 year, where you kind of take all these courses. It's very directed. Usually they include like Mcat classes too, application advising. They set you up in that way too. They're really comprehensive. So I recommend looking into that as well.
So I have a question. Oh, so I've taken 5 upper division bio courses at UCI, but I took most of them during summer, but I did not take the Bio 94. And 97. The general series of biology courses, but I've taken 5 upper division. Will that fulfill my bio courses?
So that will depend on the medical schools you apply to. Some of them are very much intent on seeing kind of that gen bio curriculum of like cell bio, organismal bio, which is like kind of like 94, like ecology and evolutionary biology stuff, as well as genetics. So that would be like 93, 94, 97 topics. Some are like, they'll see your upper division requirements and like, wow, they were so great that they didn't, without the lower division preparation, they're able to go right in. But it really depends on the school. So I would contact the medical schools that you're interested in, contact their admissions counselors directly and explain, so these are the courses I've taken. And like, of course, being like a little more specific than like the 5 upper division, just being like, I've taken human physiology, I've taken anatomy, I've taken microbio, I've taken immunology, you know, whatever it is in your situation, but outlining the specific topics you've taken and say that you've taken them at the upper division level, but you never took lower division, like general biology. Would this be sufficient for their requirements? And they're usually really good about getting back to you in a timely manner to talk about that. And you can also talk with them about acceptable options that they would take in order to kind of ameliorate the situation if they don't like the fact that you didn't take lower division bio. Something for UCI is we don't want you to take lower division bio after you've started upper division bio, and you will run into issues with getting credit on your transcript if you do that. So definitely check with your med schools, and then we can make kind of a more detailed plan depending on the schools of interest, say.
Okay, because I think for UCI it said 1.5 years of upper division bio courses.
Yeah, so for UCI Medical School?
Yes.
So that's 1.5 years of bio in general, with at least one of those, like one of the courses within that 1.5 years being upper division. So at a semester school, right, like where like the year's divided in semesters. So that means 2 semesters of lower division and 1 semester of upper division. But UCI, as well as the UC medical schools in general, are very, very accepting of all sorts of combinations of prerequisites, just because, you know, like this is how our system is set up. So they're more familiar with our courses and like they're being willing to take it. I think the issues where you'd run into is if you apply out of state to programs that might be less familiar with UCI's curriculum.
Okay.
I just want to mention something kind of going along with what John is before we answer more questions. It's very important for you guys to research the schools that you are applying to before, you know, sending in your application. So it's not just, okay, let me just send a bunch of applications to see where they like accept me. It's very costly to start off with. So you want to make sure you increase your chances by applying to the right schools based on your numbers and what you have on your like application. So different schools, although, you know, we have these like, okay, you have to complete all these courses to apply to medical school. A lot of them, I guess, place a lot of emphasis on different things also that are very important and crucial for your application. An example would be research. So some schools may like highly value research. And if you don't have that on your application, that might like, you know, negatively affect you, and you know, you kind of just wasted like your money in applying to that school when you could have applied to another school that maybe was more fit towards, you know, what you have on your application. So I just wanted to mention that, just because I think John covered you know, that main point, that it's very important, you know, to research your medical schools before you apply, to make sure, you know, you have all the prereqs along with any like, you know, research or volunteer, depending on what they actually put emphasis on. Just, you know, like I said, to increase your chances and you're not, you know, just applying anywhere and, you know, wasting money. So yeah, just wanted to mention that before we move on to further questions.
Okay.
And just to reiterate that point so clearly, I know someone this round who applied this cycle who got rejected from a school because they missed like a single course requirement specific to that school. So it is like really important that you look at what these requirements are, that you're in communication with the medical schools. If you have any like questions, whether something's not clear to you, whether or not your coursework will satisfy the requirements, because yeah, you do not want to waste that money.
Okay, next question. It says, I found a lab that I am interested to work with under Bio 199 program. Can I email the professor directly even if I am not in Bio 199?
Yes, that is a good question. That's actually how you would start the process of enrolling in Bio 199. So I would say pretty much enrolling in 199 is almost like the last step of finding a research lab or joining a research lab. So since you found the lab that you're interested in working in, what you would do is perfect. So you would email the professor directly and just express your interest in the lab. Maybe I would recommend maybe looking more into their pages and publications and seeing why you think, or giving some sort of context as to why you think their research is interesting and why you'd like to join the lab. But just sending a brief email expressing your interest and asking if they'd have any positions in their lab for you as an undergraduate, that would basically start off the process. And once you hear back from them, they may ask to do an interview with you or may ask to bring you in just to get to know you a bit better and make sure you're a good fit for the lab. And then once that happens and you've been basically approved by the PI or whoever the lab manager is to join, you would fill out some paperwork that's on our Bio 99 website, have it signed by the faculty you're working with, and then it would be submitted to the Biosci Student Affairs Office, and then you'll get approval to enroll in Bio 199. So it is a bit of a process just because we want to make sure that you have approval from the faculty to join their lab. Otherwise, I think a lot of people would just be randomly applying and it would be a bit of a mess, but you would have to reach out to the professor first, get approval from them, and then get approval from Biosci Student Affairs before enrolling in 199. So I think that is a really great place to start with the process.
Okay, so our next question is about the Mcat. It states, can you give an example of the timeline of when you should take the Mcat in relation to the application deadline, seeing how most application deadlines are October through December?
Sure, I can talk a little bit more about that. So like I said, a lot of students, so let's say you are planning of applying next June, not this June coming up, but next June. Most students would typically enroll or sign up for a September. So that would be September of that cycle that you're applying to. So I'll give you my example of like my first time, I guess, registering. So around this time, I ended up signing up for my Mcat, which would be in September, because I was applying, I am planning on applying in June of this cycle. And I wanted to give myself that whole summer to study for. So that's usually when most students do that. And the reason why is because, you know, if you take it in September before June, you kind of get an idea what your Mcat score is, and it gives you room to retake the Mcat in case you like score really poorly on it or you're not where you want it to be at. You can, you know, you have room to take it again before your application. So the latest I think that you can take the Mcat would be in May 28th. I think that's the latest now, as of now, for this cycle, that you can take your Mcat without it affecting your application. Without affecting your application or delaying your application. Mind you, every medical school is different. Some medical schools will review your application without your Mcat scores. Other schools will completely not review your application unless everything is on there already. So it depends on the medical school that you are applying to. So once again, that's why it's very important for you to research your medical schools, just so you know if you have that chance to take it later on. So you know, September is like the best time that you want to take it, just because, you know, that's before school, most school starts. So you don't have to worry about, you know, studying for the Mcat, like that year. Like I said, and it gives you time, in case you don't do as well, to retake it later, January. Most students retake it in January if they don't do so well, or later on. But May is around like the latest that you can take it before like June. I know it sounds a little bit crazy because ideally you would want it before that so you can see where you're at. Because usually your MCAT scores come a month. It takes a month for you to get your score back. So just be considerate of that, because if the medical schools won't review your application until those scores are there, then it's better for you to sign up earlier. But that's usually the round time that most students take. So they register in spring to take it in September, give themselves that whole time, summer, to study, take it in September. If you do well, then you have your MCAT score, and then you just worry about everything else. But if you don't, then you have to keep studying a little bit more, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Life happens, nobody's perfect. So if you need that time, then you can sign up again to retake the MCAT, and hopefully you do much better, and then you're set to apply for medical school. But that's the timeline. My way, like the way I did it, didn't go that route, even though I wanted it to go that way. It didn't go because of COVID. The AMC, kept postponing tests, canceling tests. You had to re-sign up. So it was a little bit crazy this time around. But usually, yeah, that's kind of like the main timeline that most students tend to follow. But there's nothing wrong with kind of like straying away from it if you absolutely need to, as long as it doesn't affect your application.
And just to reiterate, the deadlines, like the hard deadlines, right, are like throughout fall. But medical school admissions is reviewed on a rolling basis. So those people who get it in during June are having their applications looked at late July, August. They're getting interview offers at that time for the fall. So if you submit your application and so you delayed your MCAT, you submit your application, and kind of like an October deadline, they've already looked through most of the applicants to that school. They've already handed out interview offers. And so you will be kind of like on that back burner for review and kind of like looking into you more and inviting you to interview. So definitely think of those as like, in case there is a school that you end up really, really want to applying to, but you didn't want to at the very beginning of the summer, like you still have time to send in that application. But really the schools that you want to go to, ideally you have an idea of what they are kind of like heading into May, and that you're ready to submit that first application to them in June.
I have a question. Do you know if UCI's medical clinic is allowing us to volunteer? Because the last time I checked, because of COVID, they're postponing observerships.
So I think you're talking about two different programs, so I'll touch on both of them. So the college volunteer program is on hold. They are, I believe, reopening on May 4th to start training new volunteers again. I think that's when the application will open as well for new volunteers who want to join the program. Yes, they've been kind of like, it's been impossible really to conduct any new volunteer training and like orientations and things like that in COVID, just based on kind of the people and resources and space available. But that should be restarting as we get closer into the summer and as public health conditions allow. For the Irvine clinical experience, which is kind of like the shadowing program, I have not heard anything about that. Usually they do a spring application round, but should have been this month, but we have not seen that yet. That might also be operating on kind of a delayed application timeline due to COVID, or that might not just start up until their fall session. So I just check back those websites frequently to see if the application has been posted starting kind of very early May.
Also, I like just to mention, there's a lot of things that you can do also that right now, as of now, because I know a lot of things aren't open, that still allow you to get those volunteer opportunities without having to be actually present in a clinical setting. That will still look really good in your medical school application. So I know one of them, I do this, and I know a lot of students are doing this, like virtual translating. So if you know, speak different languages, maybe look into that. You know, you're able to help through like Zoom or through like a phone call. You're able to like work from home. Also, like, you know, if you just don't want to like expose yourself, or you know, that's something that you can do. Another thing that, you know, does require you to be on person, but that you can do is like COVID testing. I know that looks really good right now in like applications. So that's things you can do also, since, you know, a lot of clinics are not open yet or not allowing volunteers to, you know, come in. Just, you know, to, you know, keep exposing yourself and like learning new things, you can do that. I know a lot of students are like, oh, well, our medical school is just not gonna like pay attention to that because of that. You know, I feel like medical schools, you know, still require you to have some background exposure. So I think that's something that you can do from home, or, you know, something that doesn't require you to be in the clinical setting. So.
Okay, so our next question states, so we can choose any one of the upper division bio courses instead of all of them for UC Med schools?
Could you rephrase that question? I'm not exactly sure what you're asking.
If you're asking if you have to take every single upper div that I mentioned, no. Med schools do require some specific type of classes. That's what I was talking about, the APM type of things. So anatomy, physiology, and microbiome. Some other common ones are immunology and biochemistry. But other than that, you don't have to take every single upper division class that UCI offers, because that would take you years and years and years to finish. So I don't know if that's what you were asking, if it was like topics based on classes. Generally, kind of like John was saying, I would recommend checking with the individual med school programs that you want to apply to, because they do have different requirements. And sometimes they'll say like recommended but not required for certain classes. Generally, it's better to take the recommended classes too, because it does make your application a bit stronger. If that didn't answer your question, please let us know so that we can like answer it fully. I don't want to leave you hanging. Yeah.
So sorry, my question was just like not worded properly. So I was actually like, because somebody has a question about like UC medical schools. So like, for example, I'm currently looking at like UCLA's website, and they say like cellular and molecular biogenetics, and like biochem and lchem. So I was just wondering, like, you know how you mentioned like the upper division bio classes. So do we take everything that you mentioned in the upper division bio, or is it only like a few? Because he said something about like a year and a half of bio total, and out of that some amount has to be upper division. So I was just like wondering about that.
So UCI operates on like, they give you a time period and then you fill in the bio topics. UCLA does not have, they work on a competency-based system, which means there's not any specific courses that they're looking for. It's just like, these are things that we think you should take, that we think are important to your pre-medical preparation. And so like they say things like genetics, cell biology, molecular biology, which is covered in like Bio 93, Bio 99, and Bio 97. You could take upper division courses within like on those topics as well. But a lot of general biology will cover those competencies. But UCLA doesn't explicitly say that it has to be a specific course to like open it up to everyone who like may not be able to take like kind of like a standard bio major curriculum. it makes it like really loose and it's like kind of hard to conceptualize because there's no real right answer. But that gives you added flexibility. And again, that's just kind of like something that you'll have to look at for each school because each school does it a little bit differently.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any more questions? We have 4 more minutes left. Otherwise, you're also free to go.
I had a quick question. I joined very late. I just got off of work, but I was wondering if you guys were going to send an email out with like the presentation for today or
Yes,
the
we are.
slideshow.
We
Okay,
are. We are
awesome.
also recording it. So it'll be
Oh,
posted
sweet.
on our YouTube page.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, if you have any last minute questions, please let us know. If not, we have to go. We have another workshop right after this to go to, so that's why John kind of dipped out. He's hosting that one.
One final question.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Does UCI offer any MCAT practice tests? Because I've gotten emails, I don't know if the SSAR for the GRE, but I haven't seen one for the MCAT.
I don't think so. I personally haven't seen that. I could be wrong though, but I don't think UCI offers any of that. I think you have to go, I mean, I had to go out of my way to go get all those prep stuff on my own. And that's usually what students tend to do. Like I said, I could be wrong. I just haven't seen it, or maybe I missed it, but I don't think UCI offers at least any programs or anything like that to prepare. I mean, sometimes they have like workshops, like the career, sometimes like they have like the medical school where they come talk to you about the MCAT and give you like, I guess, basically what we just mentioned, like the same information that we just offered to you, just because I attended them, so I can say that. So it's like the same thing that I just told you in this presentation. But yeah, I don't think they offer like specific programs or like, you know, tests or all that. I think you have to go out of your way and, you know, purchase those things.
Well, it's going to be 7, so you guys are all free to go. Thank you for coming and, you know, joining us. We hope you guys learned more about like medical school. Yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, Biosci PAs.